Good morning. Welcome to the Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation online worship service. The OUUC community comes together in the mutual promises and possibilities of our covenant. We commit to live out our mission to be a liberal religious community that opens minds, fills hearts, and transforms lives. We are so glad that you are joining us this morning. My name is Christine Park, and I'm a member of the Worship Arts team. Leading worship with me today is our minister, Reverend Mary Geer, Sarah Lewis, our Director of Lifespan Religious Education, and Troy Fisher, our Music Director. Our Zoom tech team provides our technical support, and we are very grateful for their help. And special thanks goes to Darlene Sarkala, our administrator, for keeping us all informed and connected. We are so grateful for the very many hands that helped make worship possible this morning. We welcome each of you to this celebration of love and wonder and to this congregation. And we invite you to stay online for a virtual coffee hour right after the service. We do have a few announcements this morning, and you can always find information about upcoming activities on our website, ouuc.org. Please join the Concerned Clergy of Olympia, of which Reverend Mary and Reverend Carol are members, for an interfaith pride service on Thursday, June 18 at 7:00 p.m. Rather than offer our usual Thursday evening contemplative service, we invite everyone to gather in community for lamentation, revolution, affirmation, and blessing. You can find more information on the OUUC website. Click on Online Events. And OUUC's vital fundraiser, the 2020 online auction, is very near, June 20th to 28th. Be sure to Zoom on June 20th at 5:00 p.m. for the auction opening night performance by the Merry Shakespeareans, complete with door prizes. See the announcements at the bottom of the order of service, again online at online events, for more information about the auction and how to pre-register to bid, which qualifies you for door prizes. You'll also find out how to donate and connect to the auction opening night. There are many opportunities to stay connected to our community. We're learning that social distancing does not mean social isolation. I encourage you to check the website regularly. If you have questions or need help, please ask a staff member who will be happy to help you. Now, let us open our hearts and minds as we prepare for worship. Welcome, everyone. It is good to be together.
Good morning, everyone. This morning and every Sunday morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. Please join me as we light our chalices together with these words inspired by Amy Zucker Morgenstern. Within the heart of the flower, the fountain of beauty. Within the heart of the community, a fire that warms and dances. Within the heart of each of us, a spark of the spirit of life. We light our chalices with hope that the spark of life in each of us will join with others to fuel the flames of justice. Our opening words this morning are offered by Kimberly Ann Tomzek Carlson, titled, A Place of Belonging and Care. It is not by chance that you arrived here today. You have been looking for something larger than yourself. Inside of you, there is a yearning, a calling, a hope for something more, a desire for a place of belonging and care. Through your struggles, someone nurtured you into being, instilling a belief in a shared purpose, a common yet precious resource that belongs to all of us when we share. And so you began seeking a beloved community, a people that does not put fences around love, a community that holds its arms open to the possibilities of love, a heart home to nourish your soul and share your gifts. Welcome home. Welcome to worship. Come and let us worship together.
And let's sing together. Hymn number 318 in the gray hymnal, We Would Be One. We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for the meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
Today, we are so happy to welcome new members to our congregation. These are the people who are seeking membership in OUUC. We take this time to celebrate your commitment to membership in the Olympia Unitarian Universalist congregation. We recognize this commitment in our worship service because we hold up that which is of worth, sharing our voices in song, sharing words and silence, sharing our joys and sorrows, sharing our work for justice, sharing ministry. Joining OUUC means being a part of this gathered community, speaking out for the future of our congregation, offering and receiving gifts of the Spirit, supporting others and being supported in return. We welcome all the voices. If you will join us in this mission and work, say, I will.
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 We welcome you as new members of our community this morning. You have come to worship, play, work, and grow among us. Ours is a free faith. We have no creeds, and you are free to bring your ideas and beliefs to this congregation to share with others. I invite you to join with us in the religious search for meaning and purpose in life, informed by our individual beliefs and the traditions of Unitarian Universalism.
Will the members of the congregation please respond with the words printed in your orders of service and also in the Zoom chat? You will be muted, but trust me, we can all hear you.
Join me in saying, we receive you with open hands and hearts. As you join us, we once again renew our own commitment to this religious community and to our shared vision, to be a liberal religious community that opens minds, fills hearts, and transforms lives. We are proud and happy to have you among us. Welcome.
Some of our new members also bring their children into our community. I ask all the children to come in front of their cameras. Please continue to welcome our new members into your fellowship of play, growth, learning, and love. If you will do this, please wave and smile and say, welcome. Welcome.
We, the members, staff, and ministers of the Olympia Unitarian Universalist congregation, enter into this covenant as an expression of our commitment to each other.
Because we value our congregation, we promise to enhance its health with our time, talent, energy, and financial resources, and honor our commitments here.
Because we seek to be a friendly and inclusive congregation, we promise to provide a safe and nurturing environment for all of our members, young and old, assist those among us who have urgent needs for care and support, and provide opportunities for personal and spiritual growth.
Because we choose to walk together, we promise to create and support an organizational structure that is responsive, responsible, identifiable, and accessible. Share our gifts as we participate in the leadership of the congregation and encourage our congregational leaders to listen and speak openly, understand deeply, work with fairness, and serve with passion.
Because we need not think alike to love alike, we promise to speak and work openly, honestly, and lovingly, with our leadership providing informed, constructive feedback when we believe change is needed.
Because we recognize that conflict is normal, we promise to speak with each other directly and honestly from a position of respect, kindness, and love. recognizing that to do so, there will be times we need to seek counsel from the community.
Because we strive to live our Unitarian Universalist principles, we promise to inform ourselves about and engage issues that concern our larger communities. Thank you.
We came into community this morning bringing all that is in our lives. In this space, we draw on the compassionate heart of community to hold all that we bring here with us. We take the time now to share some of the joys and sorrows that have been offered. If you would like to send in a joy or sorrow this week, please look for the link in the online worship page on the OUUC website, and we'll bring it into the service next week. Right now, I invite us to take a breath together as we open our hearts to receive all that is in our community today. Christmas Fram asks for our prayers and good wishes as she struggles with pain from a medical issue. She faces some difficult decisions about treatment this week and would appreciate our support as she works through her options. Christmas, we hold you in love and care and prayer this week and always. May you be guided toward the best possible decision and outcome. I invite you to enter your sorrows in the chat box on the screen. We'll do the joys in a moment. Let's hold the sorrows first. And as we take in what is posted, let us reach out our hearts in love and care to all those who share. I place a stone in the water for all of the sorrows shared today. And a couple of joys to share. A warm welcome to all of the new members who join OUUC today. We are so enriched and strengthened by your presence. May you feel welcome and may your spirit find a home here. Justine Sherwood has kept in touch with me by email from Ohio since we met last September when Justine attended OUUC with her family as she was visiting here in Olympia. Jay, Kelly, Lily, and James Carmody attended OUUC in person this winter until we went virtual. And now Justine joins them and us online as we all worship together. Justine shared the sorrow of her canceled spring trip to Olympia and the joy to feel closer to her family on Sunday mornings. Welcome, Justine, Jay, Kelly, James, and Lily. We are so glad that you are all here. And I invite you to enter your joys in the chat box on your screen. As we take in what is posted, let us reach out our hearts in celebration to all those who share. I place a stone for our joys in the water of community. And one more stone in the water for all of the joys and sorrows that we hold in our hearts and that remain unspoken. I invite you now to join me in a time of reflection, prayer, and meditation. Infinite web of life, spirit of love, great mystery. On this day, we gather. It's what we do. When we grieve and when we celebrate, when we are frightened and when we are joyous, when we hurt and when we smile. We gather together in old ways and in new ways, always connected, always. On this day, we know that many are hurting and some have been hurting for a long time. May our hearts open wide to take in that hurt, and may that motivate us to use our hands in the service of justice. On this day, may we notice the long days of sunshine and rain. May we take in the smells, the fresh smells of flowers and trees, the many shades of green, the sky glowing in deep blue, gray, pink, orange, red. May we know the turning of the seasons, the turning of the wheel of life. On this day, may we give thanks for community, for love, for life itself in all of its many forms. On this day, may all be fed, may all be healed, may all be loved. May this be so. Blessed be, and amen. Let's hold a moment of silence together.
Please join in this prayer. Love, once again, break our hearts open wide. once again break our hearts open wide. Love 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 once again break our hearts open wide.
Our prayers and meditations can deepen our gratitude for what we recognize as sacred in our lives and in this world. Each Sunday, we express our gratitude by joining together in service to our community and to something greater than ourselves. The offering collected today will be used to support the ongoing good works of OUUC and will be shared with a local organization that serves society's well-being in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist principles. This month, our Share the Plate recipient is the Crisis Clinic of Thurston and Mason counties. It has provided 24/7 support to callers for over 47 years. In 2018, they answered over 10,000 phone calls from people in crisis who know they can rely on trained and compassionate volunteers who lend an empathetic ear and assist them to access community resources. More than ever, we appreciate the work of the Crisis Clinic in our community. You can participate in the offering by making a donation online through the church website or by texting the number that appears on your screen. You can also mail a check to OUUC. As you know, our community partners continue to need our financial support. We are grateful for your offering. Thank you for your generous gifts. Our reading this morning is titled, All of Us Are Beautiful, by Thomas Rhodes. We come in a variety of colors, shapes, and sizes. Some of us grow in bunches. Some of us grow alone. Some of us are cupped inward, and some of us spread ourselves out wide. Some of us are old and dried and tougher than we appear. Some of us are still in bud. Some of us grow low to the ground, and some of us stretch toward the sun. Some of us feel like weeds sometimes. Some of us carry seeds sometimes. Some of us are prickly sometimes. Some of us smell. And all of us are beautiful. What a bouquet of people we are. This ends our reading.
I think we need to talk. Now, those are words that many of us have probably said and many of us have heard. It's an invitation for connection, often to resolve some kind of tension. I received a message like that recently from the chair of the auction team, Melanie Ransom, and I share the story with you with her permission. Now, Melanie's message to me was not quite as blunt as that because she's way more tactful than that, but the invitation was clear. You see, it got back to Melanie that I'd made a comment in a meeting where Melanie was not present, expressing some concern about the auction. And as often happens in congregational life, someone in that meeting mentioned my comment to their partner, who then contacted Melanie. And a big thanks to Melanie for reaching out to me directly when she heard that I might have a concern. Even though I had sensed some tension between Melanie and me, I have to admit, I was avoiding it. Avoiding conflict is something that I'm guessing most of us know well. On occasion, it's an okay strategy, usually for the short term. And in this case, the tension had become a challenge, and avoiding it wasn't going to fix it. So I responded that yes, I was concerned and had sensed some tension between us regarding the auction planning. And so Melanie and I talked by Zoom, because that's what we do these days. Melanie shared with me how important the auction is for so many people. Not only the big auction kickoff event, but the many gatherings that are offered as items that become the foundation of social calendars for people throughout the year. It helped me understand the depth of grief and loss that the auction team was feeling as we faced a very different auction this year. And I learned that Melanie's expectation was that as the minister, my participation in the auction would be pretty minimal. I would donate a sermon, attend the kickoff event, offer a blessing, and purchase items if I wanted to. The fact that I had been asking many questions about the details of the auction and asking to attend some of the planning meetings was way more than she expected. And now these are my words. I was mucking around in her business that she knew very well and was quite good at, thank you very much. And that's when I realized that we were operating in different contexts and with different perspectives. Melanie didn't know that the board and I had been reviewing the governing policies as they applied to the pandemic. How could she know? She didn't know that we had agreed that the decision about the congregation's operations, including when to close and open the building, were the responsibility of the minister. The governing policies direct that the minister will not cause any unsafe conditions for the congregation or the staff. So yes, I was asking lots of questions about the auction, but not because I wanted to be involved in directing it or micromanaging. I was trying to make an informed decision about whether or not the auction could even happen in the first place safely. I'd never experienced the auction here before. How would I know? So I shared my perspective with Melanie and the responsibility that I felt I carried. I apologized for not making this clear up front. I thanked Melanie for reaching out to me in the first place and for being willing to have a discussion. We ended knowing each other and ourselves a little bit better, and most importantly, building a relationship for working together toward the OUUC mission. And have you heard? There is an amazing online auction happening soon. A deep bow of gratitude to Melanie and the wonderful auction team for their wonderful work. These past weeks, I've been reflecting on my first year as your settled minister. Last October, our stewardship drive theme was planting seeds, growing love. And I've experienced a lot of love in my time with you so far. John and I have been warmly welcomed, a welcome that began before we even arrived last summer. We've been building a relationship, minister and congregation, a collective and individuals. I am so very grateful that we had several months to get to know each other in person before we pivoted to online church. And I have experienced the love of this congregation as you care for each other. We care for each other and for our wider community. Growing love for sure. There were many seeds planted and growing when I arrived here. Many of you had fond memories of your ministry with Arthur and were ready to welcome a new settled minister. There were important congregational traditions like the auction and books, brownies and beans. There were social groups and covenant circles, formal and informal gatherings of community members creating strong connections. Plenty of seedlings and mature plants growing and thriving. I tell the story about the conversation between Melanie and me because it highlights some of the seeds that are still underground or barely sprouted, waiting for some tending. One of those seeds grows a culture of healthy and generative conflict transformation. Ours is a covenantal, not a creedal faith. That means that we don't tell each other what to believe. We make promises about how we will be together. The covenant for this congregation says that we recognize that conflict is normal and that we promise to speak with each other directly and honestly from a position of respect, kindness, and love. Our work is to live into the aspiration of our covenant. We are a conflict avoidant culture, especially here in the Pacific Northwest. And this congregation has tended to avoid addressing conflict directly. I recognize this here because I recognize it in myself. And if the overwhelming participation in the board's listening session last Saturday about a disruptive behavior policy is any indication, conflict is on your minds too. As part of the search process last spring, when you and I were checking each other out to see if we were a good match, I learned a bit about OUUC's history. Part of that history is that there have been 3 settled ministers before me: Sandra Lee, Arthur Vaney, and Thomas Perchlick. The other ministers who have served here were interims and short-term contract ministers. And every one of the 3 previous settled ministers ended their service here in conflict. Sometimes the conflict was the cause of their leaving, Sometimes the conflict resulted from their leaving, and sometimes the conflict took its toll in other ways. The vibrations from those conflicts still ripple through this congregation. I felt them when I candidated with you last spring, and I feel them now. You might imagine that from a minister's perspective, given that history, accepting a call to serve this congregation might be just a tiny bit daunting. And I want to remind you that I said yes in response to your call to serve, with my eyes as open as they could be, and with my heart and my arms wide open. And we have some work to do to understand that congregational history and to understand how it lives now and how we can build a better future. I am eager for us to do this work together. Another seedling waiting for some care is the covenant that we make regarding our governance, or how we agree to share power, responsibility, and authority. No matter what we call it, how we allocate power and how we operate must reflect our values and our principles. And like any covenant, our governance isn't just words on paper. It's how we live together. Over these past 6 years, OUUC has undergone big changes in organizational structure and governance. There are some things written down, some policies and procedures. Our job now is to experience how we actually work together toward the OUUC mission, sharing power and authority in service to something greater. Another seedling that is waiting to be nurtured has to do with the future. In my year with you, I have heard a hunger for a unifying mission, a sense of unity and purpose. In that hunger, I hear these big questions. Who are we, and why are we here? These questions take on new meaning now in the midst of the global pandemic and a renewed national call for reckoning with our racial divide. Who are we now? What is our purpose now? One of the tasks of religious community is to offer support as we wrestle with big questions, as individuals and as a community. Many of us are wrestling with big questions in our personal lives. We are wrestling with big questions as a denomination, a faith tradition. For example, on Thursday, I participated in a Zoom call with over 500 Unitarian Universalist ministers as we discussed proposed changes to our UU Ministers Association bylaws and code of conduct that address accountability when we break our covenants with each other and with the congregations that we serve. Because it happens. Ministers break covenant sometimes. We're human. Our integrity as people and as a profession is determined by how we respond when we do. And we are wrestling with covenant as a nation. What promises do we make to each other? Do we pledge liberty and justice for all and make that real? We are a nation of people united in our humanity and unique in our differences. As wise leaders have said, we are one, but we are not the same. It is our inability to adapt to difference and to address conflict that brought us to a place where a white public servant chose to ignore the cries of a Black man saying, "I can't breathe." Until we figure out how to live together in our differences, none of us will be free. You might have noticed this morning, in addition to the start of the service, we introduced a chat chaplain, that's Sarah today, who will help set some expectations and help hold this virtual space. Over these past weeks, we've heard from some of you that you love the chat, and we've heard from others of you that you hate the chat. What we realized is that we've not made explicit any agreements about how we will use the chat. And not knowing the expectations isn't very welcoming for visitors or newcomers, let alone those who have been around for a while. And so today, we started by saying how we would like to use the chat, asking for awareness of when you're using it, and to save back and forth conversations for the breakout rooms later. New technology gives us the opportunity to notice that we are always in covenant, even when we're in the chat, or in a virtual service, or in the breakout rooms for coffee. New ways of being together doesn't mean that we leave behind our promises about how we will be together. Speaking directly and honestly with each other, with respect, kindness, and love. We could make a technical fix for any misuse of the chat by simply turning it off. But the real fix isn't technical, it's relational. When we make agreements about how to be in relationship and hold each other accountable to those agreements, we build healthy relationships and strengthen the bonds between us. So I'm going to ask you to do two things, one now and one in the months to come. First, if you are in any group connected with OUUC, a social group, a book group, a covenant circle, a team or a committee, or the coffee hour breakout room, ask what your covenant is. What agreements have you made in your being together? How do you make sure that everyone who wants to speak has a chance to do so? How do you ask everyone to listen to understand rather than listening to respond? Do you invite each other to notice when you step up and step back? Are your covenants clear to everyone, including visitors? If you have a covenant, please review it, revisit it to see if it needs some adjustment for a virtual gathering. And if you don't have a covenant, please make one. And my second request is to engage with the big questions. In our next year together, I hope we will revisit our congregational covenant and wrestle with the big questions of who we are and why we are here. What will the OUUC of the future be like? It won't be like it used to. I think we all know now that nothing will be. For example, there are people here today who will continue to participate in our congregational life virtually, even when we begin to gather in person again, because we will. And we will continue to offer a virtual option. People who live outside of Olympia or outside of Washington, people who are more comfortable joining our community from home. How will we make sure that their voices are heard and that they are seen as a part of this community? It will take all of us to help hold the loss that some of us feel when things change. And it will take all of us to fully live into the possibilities of this community. I can't wait to see what that might be. On June 4th, 1923, Norbert Čapek, who founded the Unitarian Church in Czechoslovakia, introduced a special service to his congregation in Prague. He looked for a simple ritual that would bind together his people who came from many different religious traditions and held many different beliefs. He looked to nature to find an element for communion that would symbolize the beauty of diversity. The flower communion was so popular that it became the final service before his congregation left for the summer every year. Introduced to the US by his wife Maya Čapek in 1940, this ritual is used by many Unitarian Universalist congregations to mark the end of the church year and to celebrate the beauty of diversity. In a bountiful and beautiful garden, the bright red roses make room for the big yellow sunflowers, and the sunflowers tone it down just a little bit so the small blue forget-me-nots can be seen. There is not only room for everyone, but we adapt to make sure that all are seen, all are heard, and all are welcome. As we move into our next year together, may we tend our garden, planting seeds, growing love. May we nurture our oneness without expecting sameness. May we nurture the seeds of change that have been there all along, waiting. It is time now. On this Flower Communion Sunday, let's enjoy the images of our garden together.
Let's sing together, We Shall Be Known. The lyrics will be in the chat box. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. Well, it is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. And it is time now, it is time now to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead as in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend the fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. And it is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Let's extinguish our chalices together with these words adapted from Richard Gilbert. May the blessings of the flowers be upon you. May their beauty beckon to you each morning, and their tenderness caress you each night. May their delicate petals make you gentle, and their eyes make you aware. May their stems make you sturdy, and their reaching make you care. May we be in peace, and may we bring peace and justice to our world.
Let's sing together our unison benediction, Just Believe. Just believe your star will rise in the night. The moon smiles on you, and know the sun will bring the flame.